Hey everyone, and welcome. So today, we're going to break down how a brand new investment product, one that's super laser focused on just one piece of technology, basically came out of nowhere to become one of the hottest new funds on Wall Street. Seriously, it's a wild story.
So that leads us to the big question, right? How in the world did this really niche ETF manage to attract over $1 billion in just 10 days? I mean, that kind of speed it's practically unheard of in the financial world.
Yeah, just look at that number for a second. $1 billion. And to give you some perspective here, a lot of new funds, they struggle for months, sometimes years, just to get a tiny fraction of that. This fund did it in 10 trading days. So what's the secret? What's going on here? Well, the answer, it turns out, is both simple and, wow, incredibly powerful. This fund's popularity, it's no accident. It's a very calculated, super focused bet on what some people are now calling the true bottleneck of the entire AI revolution. Okay, so let's dive into that. To really get why this fund just exploded onto the scene, you have to understand the specific piece of tech at the very heart of its strategy. And the CEO of the company that launched this fund, he put it so perfectly. He said, look, everyone is obsessed with the brains of AI, right? We all hear about the powerful GPUs from companies like NVIDIA. But he says the real pressure point, the actual bottleneck, is the memory. And we're not talking about the regular memory you'd find in your phone or your laptop. No. This is something called high bandwidth memory, or HBM for short. Think of it as a supercharged, highly specialized ingredient that is absolutely critical for training and running these huge AI models. The whole AI industry is basically starving for this stuff. Here's a great way to think about it. If a big AI processor, like a GPU, is the star head chef in a Michelin star kitchen, well, then HBM, that high bandwidth memory, is the essential ingredients. I mean, it doesn't matter how brilliant the chef is, right? If they don't have ingredients, they can't cook. And it's the same with AI. No memory, no computation. Simple as that. Okay, so how does this new fund, the DRAM ETF, actually capture the value of this memory bottleneck? Well, it's designed to be a really concentrated bet. And you can see just how different it is when you compare it to a broader semiconductor fund. You know, something like an SMH gives you a taste of the whole chip industry. It's diversified, kind of like a big buffet. This DRAM ETF, though, it's more like a shot of straight espresso. It's a pure, undiluted bet on only the memory and storage companies. And I love how one investor put it. They said, this is not a sleepy retirement fund. Nope, this is a thematic weapon. I mean, that really says it all, doesn't it? This is a tactical tool. It's designed for people who have a really strong opinion about where this part of the AI industry is going. So who are these companies at the center of it all? Turns out, it's a very exclusive club. And that's reflected directly in what's inside this fund.
Wow. Yeah, this chart really drives the point home, doesn't it? Just look at this breakdown. You've got about a quarter of the fund in Samsung, another quarter in SK Hynix, and, you guessed it, another quarter in Micron. So just 3 companies make up almost 3/4 of the entire fund. It's pretty much a bet on these 3 giants, all bundled up in one ETF.
And here's why that's so important. This structure, it actually solves a really big problem for investors. For one, it's the first ETF that gives you this kind of pure, focused exposure to memory. But, and this is the big one, especially for US investors, it gives you easy access to Samsung and SK Hynix. Those are 2 absolute titans of the industry from South Korea, and you can't easily buy their stock on US exchanges. Okay, but with that kind of intense concentration, you know what comes next, right? Big risk. This is not a business that moves in a nice, steady, straight line. We have to talk about the volatility that is just baked into the DNA of this whole industry. Yeah, as one of our sources points out, anyone who's followed the space knows the memory industry is famous, or maybe infamous, for being super cyclical. It doesn't just grow steadily, it moves in these huge, dramatic waves of boom and bust. So before anyone gets too carried away, let's be really clear about the risks. There are 3 big ones you have to consider. First, that extreme volatility we just talked about. Second, the concentration risk. I mean, it's a double-edged sword. If one of those top 3 companies has a bad quarter, the whole fund is going to feel it. And third, you've got tax implications to think about, especially for international investors, since this is a US ETF. And one Korean investor we looked at put it even more bluntly, and this quote really sticks with you. They said, when it's good, it explodes. When the cycle turns, it collapses together. Wow, that tells you everything you need to know, right? There is just not a lot of middle ground here. So what's the big takeaway from all this? How do you square that massive billion-dollar rush of excitement with these, well, these equally massive risks? It really all comes down to perspective.
So with all that risk, does that mean it's an all or nothing kind of bet? You either go big or go home. Well, not at all, actually. The story gets a lot more interesting and maybe more practical when you see how some people are actually approaching this. Just take a look at this. After all that talk of $1 billion, this is the actual position size of one of the investors we looked at. $1.07. It's such a great reminder that you don't have to bet the farm to be part of the story.
And I think his philosophy here just says it all. He says, I do not need to come in big to begin building. I build $1 at a time. And that's it, right? You don't need a mountain of cash to get started. You can build a position slowly, thoughtfully, with an amount that makes sense for you. And really, that is the core idea here. This DRAM ETF, it isn't meant to be the foundation of your portfolio. It's not some kind of financial safety blanket. Think of it as a shark tool, a scalpel, designed for one very specific job, getting you that targeted exposure to the AI memory boom. Which kind of leaves us with one last big question to think about. In this incredible race to build out AI, is the smartest bet really on the brains of the operation, or is it on the one single ingredient that the whole thing just can't live without? You know, the answer to that question just might define the next big chapter in tech investing.